So again, like some of the biggest mistakes that I see in any type of pitch is not having a direction and knowing where you're going to go. The customer has no idea where you're going, and if they get lost anywhere along the way, you'll lose legitimacy, right? So in sales, one of the most critical things that I learned, right? There was a few critical things that I learned early on in my career through Vivint. I think Vivint is the GOAT of door-to-door. Some of their trainings were the best, but fundamentally the things that I learned I've carried with me for my entire career. One of the core fundamentals that I learned at Vivint was legitimacy. It's the number one objection in all of sales. And there's 3 tiers to legitimacy. There's rep legitimacy, there's company legitimacy, and offer legitimacy. Just to review that, Jordan Belfort calls that the 3 Tens of Legitimacy. And what Jordan states, and I tend to believe and go with on his theory, is that if you're a 7 or below on any one of the 3 tiers of legitimacy, there's no deal. That means that you're a 7 below on a trust factor of who you are as a person, a 7 below on who the company is, and how they can facilitate the customer and their trust in the company and their longevity, or the offer, right? And so then it goes to he also poses this, that if you're a 7 or above, you're gonna get the deal, but if you can create rep legitimacy and company legitimacy, you should naturally be able to create offer legitimacy. Where I see people get lost in creating offer legitimacy is they're just all over the place. I've been in so many closes with people, and they're not structured, and they're going in, and they're talking about the dogs and the mountains and the trucks and the skis and all the stuff so they can try and get the customer to like them. And then they get into their deal, and this deal they start with, oh, have you heard of net metering? And then later they're like, oh shit, I better talk about that too. And then there's a 2.99% thing. And then, oh, how we make money. And then the next deal they're like, well, let me tell you how we make money. And they're just kind of all over the place, and there's no structure. And so one, it's really difficult in sales to become a professional or find your own direction if you don't have direction, if you don't have a rudder on your boat. One of the key components is going through a proper cycle so that you can analyze each one of your deals to find out where you have a hole or an error, or where you're strong and where you can improve. Right? Vivint calls this the sales cycle. So it's prospecting, qualifying, presenting, objections, and closing. And so I should be able to see where I lost the deal in there if I'm following a proper deal structure. And when I talk about analyzing each deal that I'm in, I can go back and I can trace my deal, because essentially the fundamentals of what I say in each deal are the same thing. I'm explaining conceptually how a power purchase agreement works. And I go through a methodical process to do that. And so it's very easy for me to recall where I may have slipped up, left my sales cycle, lost control of the situation, not answered a question properly, not overcome an objection properly, because I'm so attuned to what I'm doing. And then also, I'm acutely aware of when I start to drift and leave my sales cycle. I can see when I'm in deep water. I'm like, okay, we've been talking about, their mom for 10 minutes now. We got to get back in, right? Jordan Belfort calls that the straight line to persuasion. So what you'll see in a lot of sales is there's similarities. But all the similarities are built off the fundamentals of success, right? And I said this last time, I don't train on personalities. We're going to see people like Danny Pesci and Michael O'Donnell and Sam Taggart and all these guys that are on Instagram. They're all great guys, but they all have big personalities. And it's really hard to mimic those things, right? And do they all have things that we can take away? 100%. But what you need to do and what I teach is the fundamentals of sales. Like, how do you build on that, and then how do you maximize your personality into the sales cycle? You have to be unique, you have to be authentic, you have to be honest, and you have to be trustworthy, right? And so one big mistake that I see people is having a lack of direction. They don't know exactly where they're going next. I had 400 closes in alarms. I'm 300 plus in solar, closed, installed situations, not just sold. right? So I've sat at least 700 tables that have closed and installed in alarm or solar. And I still use a presentation deck. I keep going over that with guys, because even in my recruiting now, I ask senior closers, do you use a deck? I don't need a deck. I know you don't need a deck. Your customer needs the deck, right? There's things that have been proven, just like at doctor's offices. There was a study shown that if a doctor's office makes an appointment for you and hands you the card, you're like 30% more likely to not come to the appointment. But they found in a study that if they hand the card to you and make you fill it out, you're like 50% more likely to come to the appointment. Right? In sales book after sales book after sales book, the thing that I hear that's resounding is visuals. The reasons that we have slicks. It's not about you needing a presentation. It's about trying to pierce through lizard brain and get into their cognitive thought process in a simple way that's impactful, right? So I'm not just talking, I'm showing, it's simple, I have direction, and they're seeing what I'm talking about, and stuff is just clicking in, right? Why don't people transact? Because they don't trust. They don't trust you, they don't trust your company, or they don't trust your offer. Or in the worst case scenario, they don't trust any one of the three. They think you're probably lying about the deal. They've never heard of your company, you didn't explain who it was, and so obviously the deal's a bad deal. And it could be, and you could be honest. You could be honest. And just not have explained it in a manner that they understood, and so they don't trust it. And this is the other thing, is people feel like they have to just get this person to like them so much. I don't need to like my doctor. I have an attorney. I have two attorneys, one in Utah and I have one in Nevada. And I don't know anything, not one single thing about either one of their families. But I love them. I love them. They're beasts. That's why. I love them because they're professional. They don't take any shit. They get after it. They know exactly what they're talking about. Every time I've had to use them, they protected me. They get after it. I like them because they're professional. That's why I keep giving them money. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you start paying lawyers money, like saying I like giving them money is a hard thing to say. But the point is that I don't need to like my attorneys because they're families, because we both go boating, because we both have trucks, or because we both have dogs, because our kids go to the same school. I don't care. It's the same with my banker. Raise your hand if you had a banker, or dealt with a banker, gotten a credit card. How much do you know about their families? Not much, but you trust them. You trust that they're going to do their job right, and that's the key factor, right? And so when I talk about personalities, when I go into a house, of course I warm up to somebody, I have a little bit of conversation with them, but it's fairly brief, right? How long have you been in Nevada? I'm using my conversation as a qualifying portion to determine how I'm going to speak to this person, what level of business acumen they do or don't have, right? How much they do or don't know about solar. How much do I need to teach them? How much do they already know? I'm utilizing that conversation, not so you can get to know me as a person on a friend level. I'm using it as a business person, right? And this is a transaction. And the way I view my job is to take care of you. I have to know my numbers. I have to make sure I have a fiduciary responsibility to my homeowners to make sure that I'm explaining the deal properly, that I'm giving them the correct offset, and that I'm going to meet their needs. And I understand what their needs are. They don't want to get ripped off. They don't want to have bad construction. If I tell them that they're going to have 100% offset, they expect to have 100% offset. They do, right? They can have fears. They have natural fears. I should be able to overcome those things through my legitimacy. And I create legitimacy not by befriending them, but by being a professional, right? So when I walk in, it's a business transaction. Josh is in banking, right? We have guys that have been in real estate. We've had doctors, all these different things. This is a business transaction, and it's my job to be a professional. And you should like me because I'm a professional, but that's why you should respect me, and that's why you'll transact with me, because you trust me, right? So those are the key fundamentals. We don't always need to focus on just going in and just being everybody's best friend. Go in and be professional, right? This is a professional transaction. And I see people in houses for hours and hours, and that's going to happen from time to time. We're going to get in a rap battle with somebody, you know, and stuff's going to happen. I've done it. I'm not going to, right? But the average solar transaction should take 45 minutes to an hour, depending on welcome calls and paperwork. Your presentation overall should take less than a half an hour. And we'll go through the presentation. I'm not going to go through the banking portion right now, right? We're going to be on camera, so I don't want to go into the banking portion. We're going to go through the presentation piece, but the actual presentation is where the close happens. The numbers after that should just be a simple thing. I already know what my numbers are. I've looked at my proposal. Your power bill is $200. Your PPA is going to be $140. I've looked at the math. It's going to take the PPA 13 years to catch up to where NV Energy is in between now and then. I'm saving you money. It's a great deal. I can see that I've given you 110% offset. When I get into my numbers, it's time to, we're signing docs. That's not the time to present, right? So we're going to go through presentation today. So I want everybody to focus on, like, be professional, look professional, act professional. This is the energy sector. There's people in solar that make a lot of money, and we make a lot of money because this is a really hard job. 99.9% of American people will not knock doors or go direct to home because it's incredibly difficult. That's one of the reasons that we make a lot of money. The other reasons that we make a lot of money is because we're selling electricity. Berkshire Hathaway makes a lot of money too. There's a lot of money in electricity, and it's a really hard job. And because it's a hard job and we have the ability to make a lot of money, we should act like professionals, and we should be professional with our customers. And that's what we want to represent. That's what this team represents, and that's what good people in solar should just represent just in general. Okay, so we're going to go through the deck. I'm going to remind you about the deck. My deck is built off sales psychology. It's going to cover the first two tiers of legitimacy, deck 1 and deck 2. Personal legitimacy, who I am as a person. You have to remember that who I am as a person is not, this is the other big mistake. People get in and they're like, hey, I grew up in Vegas, and my dad was, and my mom did, and I have 2 dogs and a cat, and my kid goes to, you know, and, you know, I'm in solar because, you know, I wanted a new opportunity for myself. They don't care. They don't care. What you're trying to show with personal legitimacy is, hey, I'm a professional in this industry. This is how I qualify myself. Like me, you know, I own Relentless Energy. That's what I say, because it's the truth. I own a Sun Solar dealership in Nevada. That's what I say. If that's not your truth, don't say that. If you're a district manager, say that. If you're a senior rep and you've been in, say that. If you don't own a home, don't say that. If you want to buy a home, say that. I understand this is your home. The point is, on these things, you have to have what's called a lead in and a lead out so the customer knows why you're going there. The point of the personal introduction is to create rep legitimacy. To do that, what I'm trying to convey to the person is that I'm a professional in my field, and this is the simple thing I'm trying to convey. I understand where I'm sitting. I'm sitting in your home. I understand the value of this investment to you. I understand what this means to you. I understand what it took you to get here, right? Where will my language change? If I'm sitting with somebody that's retired, I'll tell them, I understand this is probably where you're going to finish your retirement. If I'm talking to a family who just moved in and I see kids running around, I'm going to tell them, I know this is where your kids sleep. I know this is where you folks cook dinner. I know what this means to your family. I'm a family man myself. I'm a homeowner. I'm going to take care of your home. So I'm creating rep legitimacy, and that's easing the customer's mind, going, this isn't just some sales guy. He gets it. And then I'm going to say next, just to talk a little bit about the business, I want to introduce Sun Solar. So I'm doing a lead in. So this is why I'm doing this. Then I'll tell you, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'll tell you. And then I go into education, and then I go to close after qualifying. So those are the kind of basic premises of what I'm doing. Okay, so we've done our small talk. We're going to set the customer up. We're going to have, Teresa's been in the house for, let's say, 3 years, single, so we don't have any crazy objections. Got knocked by a door knocker, pretty simple. That's what I'm walking into. From the door to the kitchen table, I've introduced myself, obviously, done a little bit. I've already started talking about things. What I'm going to start talking about is what we'll start talking about now. So Teresa, I appreciate you taking the time with me today. So it looks like one of our guys stopped by, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come into your home. What was it that kind of caught your attention when we came by?
Well, I've kind of been thinking about solar, but I don't really know that much about it. And he said that it's a free education on solar. So
Cool.
I thought I'm going to take the free education.
Awesome. Yep, we'll get that done today.
Okay.
And then we'll go through some questions. I'm going to go through a little bit of a presentation so that I don't miss anything. So I always explain why I'm showing them a deck. But I want them to stay in my sales cycle, so I'll say things like that so they understand this isn't just a sales, I need you to understand. So we're gonna go through a little bit of education. Throughout this process, I want you to kind of think of me like your real estate agent.
Okay.
Right, so it's my job to cut through the red tape. I have fiduciary responsibilities to you. Solar is actually a really simple decision if you understand how it operates and how it works. So some of the things that we're gonna cover is I'll introduce myself and the company. But conceptually, I'm just going to explain to you how power is bought and sold in the state of Nevada and really across the nation so that you can understand the difference in what we're doing and compare it and then understand the savings. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I just always kind of start with an introduction of myself. So obviously I said my name is Lee Barber. I actually own the Sun Solar dealership here in Nevada. I've been in the direct-to-home industry for about 8 years. So I've done helped over 700 customers in my time. And I'm a husband, a father, and a homeowner, just like you. So the reason that I tell you that is, I understand how valuable my home is to me, and I understand that I'm sitting inside your home, and I understand what it took you to get this home. I understand this is your most valuable investment.
Yeah, it took me a lot to get this home.
Yeah, you've been in here for 3 years.
Yeah.
What did it take for you to get the home?
Well, it's just I'm a single person, so you're doing this all on your own.
Yeah, and it can be scary. You don't want to get taken advantage of. You want to make sure that you understand everything, right? And so those things are important to me as well. So I just always talk to people about who I am so you know who you'll be doing business with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So next thing is I like to always introduce the company. So you know the company, the construction company. So one of the big things that I notice in solar is that people don't really take the construction side of it very seriously. And we're a licensed contractor. So this is contracting work, just like a kitchen or a pool or any other type of construction. It's very important the licensed contractor that's working in your house. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Have you heard some horror stories?
I have.
Yeah, we all have. And I just want to, I'll answer some questions for you so you know that we're one of the good contractors.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So we've been in business for 10 years. We're 100% debt free. Why do those two things matter? One, we're financially responsible. And that's important for you to know for us as a construction company because we're going to offer you 25-year warranties on the products that we're going to talk about. So bumper to bumper, 25-year warranties. Okay. It's important for you to know that if you pick up the phone in 10 or 15 or 20 years to call us, that we're still in business and we haven't gone bankrupt. Does that make sense?
That's important.
Yeah, so I agree it is important. So we've done over 12,000 customers. We have an A+ on the Better Business Bureau. We have 4.5 stars on Google, and we've never had a complaint on our contractor's license the entire time that we've been in business. So I go through those things first and foremost so that you know who I am as a person, but secondly, it is important to understand your construction company. You've probably not heard of Sun Solar Solutions, I'm assuming?
Actually, I think I saw your trucks, but I don't know much about the company.
Okay. Well, I always like to introduce them, and you're free to look us up on the Better Business Bureau or contact the contractors board to double check on any of my stuff. But like I said, I'm always going to be honest with you. And so we have pretty great reviews and never had any complaints. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions about myself or Sun Solar Solutions?
No?
Nope.
Uh-uh.
So one of the things that I'm doing inside that hook is I'm saying this is a really easy transaction. And I'm already talking about warranties. I'm lowering pressure. I'm introducing things that I'm going to talk about later. We're going to give you a bumper-to-bumper 25-year warranty. I'm introducing things to create a tieback. So in sales, we're going to have a nail down and a tieback. So I can come and tie back to these things later. So if she starts having concerns with the company or myself, I can say, do you remember when I talked about Sun Solar Solutions? Do you remember when I talked about the 25-year warranty? I can tie back to those things because I've laid down a stake. Right? So I'm pre-gaming the rest of my presentation based on that, right? So I'm utilizing the slides, one, to create credibility, but two, to start implementing information into her mind that's true and factual, but that's important. And I also want to, so honest people will say things that unhonest people won't say. And so I always want to be planting seeds of legitimacy, okay? So next, pretty simple. So we're just going to go through kind of the state of affairs in Nevada.
Okay.
So Envy Energy, you know who those guys are?
Oh.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know who NV Energy is, right?
No, we all know. So just kind of a goofy question, but play along with me. A few. One, do you know who owns NV Energy?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, so NV Energy is actually a privately held company. It's owned by Berkshire Hathaway. Do you know who Berkshire Hathaway is?
I've heard of them, yeah.
So Warren Buffett, it's one of the largest corporations in the nation. So they own quite a few power companies across the nation, including NV Energy. So the reason that I tell people that is because with NV Energy, they're not the bad guy, they're not evil, they serve a purpose, but there's other options. But what we have to deal with NV Energy, one is natural inflation. So we're familiar with natural inflation. You said you moved in 3 years ago, your energy's gone up a little bit since then. And then the other thing that we have to deal with is we have to deal with their shareholders because they're publicly traded. So we're dealing with two types of inflation. One is natural inflation, and two, the company has to make money, so they have shareholders to deal with, right? And so I always introduce that to people because they don't understand who NV Energy is or how that works, right?
No, I don't think I've ever thought about it that way.
Most people don't. So another kind of dumb question, but play along with me. Have you ever asked yourself, does NV Energy make electricity?
Well, yeah, they make electricity.
They do. Do you think they do?
Well, they're an electric company,
Where does electricity come from?
NV Energy.
You think that's where electricity, and just play along with me. And so and let me help you out. How much is a barrel? So you buy gasoline. You do, right? You know how much gasoline is? Per gallon?
$4, $5.
Right. Do you know how much a barrel of oil is in Kuwait?
No.
Because it's not relevant, right?
Right.
So I ask people these kind of goofy questions because what I'm trying to do is educate you on how power is bought and sold in the state of Nevada, so that you can understand it and be informed. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we said NV Energy makes electricity. Where is electricity made at?
Don't they have those fields out there that they get electricity from, and from the dam, right?
Those are some of the places. All of those places are also privately owned.
Oh.
Yeah, so NV Energy doesn't make electricity. And I'll show you what happens here.
Okay.
So it's pretty simple. So electricity comes from various forms, right? But you know solar fields, you've seen those, right? You said dam, we know that it comes from a dam. But you've seen coal plants too, right?
I don't know if I've seen them.
But you know what a coal plant is,
Yeah.
right? You know there's coal plants, there's fracking, there's wind. You see the wind
I've
farms.
seen the windmills.
There's nuclear power plants, right? So all of those are corporate power plants, right? Those are industrial power plants, and private companies build corporate or industrial power plants. So NV Energy doesn't own the dam, and they also don't own any of those solar farms.
I guess
right?
I never thought of it that way.
Nobody ever does. And this
Yeah.
is why people kind of just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, because they don't really understand how electricity is bought and sold.
Okay.
And so why do you think people build private power plants?
So that they can make money.
Right? They build them so that they can produce the commodity of electricity.
Okay.
And what they're in the business of doing is they're in the business of producing electricity and selling wholesale electricity to NV Energy.
Okay.
So these guys make electricity and they sell it wholesale to NV Energy, and then NV Energy marks it up and then sells it to you for retail for a profit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Have you ever
But
thought
I've never
about that?
about it that way.
What do you think about that?
I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So this is my job here. Solar is very, very simple, right? Okay. So all solar is it's a micro power plant. So instead of the big, huge solar farms you see out in the desert, what we're in the business of doing is building micro power plants on homeowners' roofs and cutting all of these things out of the equation and dealing directly with you.
Okay.
So we don't sell electricity to NV Energy. We sell it directly to homeowners, and what the relationship is between us and the homeowners is that we produce the electricity and you get to buy it for wholesale. Does that make sense?
Wow.
It's better? Better, right? So, and I always explain to people, how do we make money? Because later we're going to talk about a PPA and systems, and we're going to take care of everything, and people often go like, sounds a little too good to be true. How do you guys make money? So it's really simple. We make money the exact same way the commercial power plants do, in the exact same way that NV Energy does. We sell electricity. So we make money over time by becoming your power company. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Do you like more expensive electricity or cheaper electricity?
Well, I'm doing this on my own, so I'd like
Cheaper electricity. Do you like more expensive gas or cheaper gas?
No, I always go to Costco or Smith's.
Yeah, and I know sometimes they're dumb questions. But this is just the reality that we're in. And so I'm going to give you a little analogy here. Do you remember Blockbuster Video?
Yeah,
You do? How long has it been since you've been there?
forever. It's been
A long time, right? Because they're gone.
Yeah.
Right? And where do we get now through streaming like Netflix, right?
Yeah, I have Netflix.
You notice how a lot of like the industrial malls where the shopping and stuff have started to shut down? And more of that is online business with like Amazon. What that's called is it's called business intrusion, right? So the reason that we don't go to Blockbuster Video anymore is because that was the old way of doing business. The new way of doing business is just turning on your TV and watching the shows right there.
Yeah.
This is the old way of doing business. This is why solar's gotten so big. This is the reason that you see so many of your neighbors with it, because when they sit down and they truly understand it, they go, I don't want to do business the old way anymore. I don't want to have to rewind my tape and take it down there anymore. I don't want these guys to make the electricity and sell it to these guys and them sell it to me for higher. I just want to buy the electricity for cheaper. And that's the reason that people are switching power companies and going with us. Does that make sense?
It does.
They don't want to do business the old way. They want to do business the new way. And that's what I represent as the new way.
Okay.
Any questions about any of this?
No,
Conceptually, do you understand it pretty well?
I think so. These guys make power. They sell it to them. They sell it to me.
What do I do?
You put power plant on my roof and sell it to me
For cheaper.
for cheaper.
And cheaper's better. We both agreed, right? All right, cool. So next, this is just kind of a slide that explains what a power purchase agreement is. So I'm just going to kind of read through it with you. So we offer to fund, warranty, and service solar power plant on your roof. You benefit by buying electricity at wholesale cost. We're going to take responsibility for it. We're going to give it a 25-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. It's going to be our system.
Okay.
We can't put a lien on your home. If for some reason ever, because this question will probably come up later, if for some reason ever you decided, hey, I don't want to buy that cheap electricity anymore from those guys, I want to go and buy the more expensive electricity from those guys, I want to stop paying for it, we have a lien on the actual power plant, and we just want to take our power plant back at that time.
Okay.
But we can't do any of those things. So we're going to warranty it, fund it, build it, and then we have the skin in the game with you because it's called a power purchase agreement, which is the same thing you're in NV Energy right now. You have a power purchase agreement with them. We're going to make money over time by selling you wholesale electricity. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, awesome. So our revenue comes from supplying the electricity. And the last thing I'll kind of cover on this, and we'll go into it a little bit later when we get into numbers, but a PPA has a 2.99 escalator, right? So we see a national inflation rate of about 5.5% right now, and that can fluctuate up or down. We've seen it go all the way up to 13, 14%. In some states, it's gone up to 30%. It's been drastic, and we can't control it. With the power purchase agreement, we do have to have a little bit of inflation in there built in for us to make money over time as well. But it's locked in, and you're going to know exactly what your bill is going to be for the entire term. It will never change. And what we see is we see compound savings over that time because that amount of inflation grows so drastically between NV Energy and what we have because it's locked in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So you'll see more savings over time. Any questions about any of that?
Nope, I don't think so.
Who takes care of the solar system?
You guys do.
We do. What's your job?
To
Pay for
buy cheaper power.
Buy cheaper power. Turn the lights on and off and pay cheaper power. Any questions fundamentally about how this works?
You guys said that you warranty everything, so my roof. I do worry about my roof because, like I said, I am by myself.
Perfect. So that's a really good question. After I get through a few more phases of this, I will absolutely answer that question. I don't want to be evasive on that. I just like to get through this and then we'll go through that. So 100% I'll explain exactly how the roof works. But like I said, just remember this 25-year bumper to bumper. That'll be covered in there, but I'll hit it in more detail when we get there, okay? So another thing is I always want them to see me writing down the question. If I stop my presentation here and leave the sales cycle and get into this, I'm disrupting her train of education. I'm closing by explaining. The more the customer can conceptualize what I'm talking about. Now, if I stop here and I start to go into the roof one and one and wind and construction and I'm way out in left field. Write it down. I acknowledge it because it's an important question. I'm going to get to it, but I'm going to maintain control of my sales cycle. Okay, great. So no further questions on this?
I think that's it.
It's pretty basic, right? They have expensive electricity. We have cheaper electricity. We're going to take care of everything. And I joke, but it really is that simple, Teresa.
Okay.
Cool. So coming up on some of the last things I'm going to talk about here. So have you heard of AB 405 in the state of Nevada?
I don't think so.
Okay. So if I'm in California, I'm talking about an M3, right? Depending on the state that I'm in, I'm always going to educate whatever portion of the deal that I'm talking about, though. If I'm in California, this slide would be M3. Any M3, the next slide would be batteries. In Nevada, it's different, but still educational. In Nevada, in 2017, we signed a law. So it's called AB 405, Assembly Bill 405. So prior to 2017, we didn't have a law that protected net metering. And I'll explain what net metering is in just a second.
Okay.
Do you remember when I told you that NV Energy, so this is a tieback. You remember when I told you NV Energy was owned by Berkshire Hathaway, a for-profit company?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, if we're becoming your power company, are they making money?
No.
No, they're not. So how do you think they feel about losing customers?
Well, I don't think they're happy.
They don't like it, just like Blockbuster didn't, but they went out of business anyway. You can't stop market intrusion. So prior to 2017, we didn't have a law that protected us, and NV Energy took away net metering. And what happened was Nevada residents didn't like the fact that they couldn't have solar, or couldn't have net metering, or that they had to go to NV Energy, or that Berkshire Hathaway was taking advantage of the market. And we got up off the couch and we went down and voted. And we voted in a law, and it's called AB 405. So everything that we're going to be talking about from here on is going to be protected by a law, by Assembly Bill 405.
Okay.
And the primary two things that it covers, one is net metering, and two, home sales. And I'm going to discuss both of those in pretty quick form.
Okay, because that was coming up. That was the question I had in
Home
my mind.
sales?
Was if I were to sell my home.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to explain net metering super simple. And I'm going to switch subjects on you here just a second.
Okay.
Do you remember old school rollover minutes on cell phone plans?
Yes, I do.
Tell me, what is a rollover minute?
Whatever you don't use this month rolls over to the next month.
You got it. So I want you just to think about that as net metering. So what's going to happen is your solar system, your power plant, is going to produce more electricity in the daytime than your home can consume. That additional electricity is going to roll over to the grid as a net metering credit, and it's going to be stored as a financial credit. And then when the sun goes down at night, you're going to get those credits back for free. And so your house is being powered in the daytime by actual solar energy, electricity going directly in the home, and it's powered in the evening by those rollover minutes, or those energy credits that are coming back, and you're getting those back for free, just like a rollover minute. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so what you'll be able to see is, like on your power bill here, if you can see, I know it's a little bit small, but this is an actual solar customer.
Okay.
So when you have solar, the orange is going to be the solar and the blue is going to be the power. And you see how the orange is so much higher here? Mm-hmm. And you see this little credit over here?
Yes.
So that's what net metering is. It just means that this solar is producing so much electricity that it's turning into an electricity credit. And here, where the blues are a little bit higher, they're just getting those credits back for free.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So also you could kind of think of it as NV Energy's acting as a battery. And they can't ever take that away because it's protected by law. And then the number two most important thing about AB 405 is it doesn't just protect you, it actually protects the meter on your home, right? So nationwide statistics have shown we're all selling our houses in the next 7 years, right? It doesn't matter, it's just nationwide statistics. I've moved a few times myself, I've had solar on each one of our houses. But what that law does is it actually protects the meter on the home. So when you go to sell the house to me in 4 years, I get net metering. When I sell it to somebody else in 6 years, they get net metering. So AB 405 protects the actual meter that's on the home. And so each new homeowner that comes in is able to have the same solar law protecting them. And that's why it's become so easy to sell a house with solar. In fact, Zillow did a study nationwide, and it showed that houses with solar sell 2.5 times faster than houses without solar. Does that make sense?
Cool.
Yeah. Any questions about AB 405?
No.
So what is the key thing that it does? Net metering?
It's rollover minutes.
Rollover minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then does it protect you when you move?
Yes.
100%. Do you feel comfortable with that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool. Any questions so far?
No.
Pretty simple? Yeah, it's pretty basic. Has anybody ever explained it to you this way?
No.
No? Did it seem complicated?
It did.
Yeah. Does it feel a little bit simpler?
I said it wasn't, I don't think they ever gave me an education.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this guy said, that you're going to give me an education.
Yep.
So that's why I invited you in my home.
Yep. And it's pretty easy to understand. It's just like buying a home, right? If you just understand the basics of the transaction, it's pretty easy to transact because you see the value and you want to own a home. Cool. So the last thing that we're going to discuss before we go into some questions and answers is how we're calculating your power plant.
Okay.
Okay. So we've discussed you've lived in the house for 3 years, and so we got your power bill. Remember when my guy asked you for your power bill and we needed that to calculate your system?
I do.
So what we're doing on that is and you recognize this. Yep. Do you know what this graph is?
It's how much power I use.
That's how much power you use, that's right. And do you know what these numbers are on the side?
No.
So those are kilowatt hours.
Okay.
And that's actually how you get billed. It's pretty simple. Kilowatt hour is a unit of measurement for electricity, just like gallons, miles per gallon of gas or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And all NV Energy is doing is just saying how many kilowatt hours did you use in a month? And they're charging you 16 cents per kilowatt hour times how many you use plus all these crappy fees down here. And that's how you get your power bill.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to explain the 3 parts of the equation that we use to determine the size of your power plant so that you know that we're giving you a good power plant.
Okay.
So one is we just took your power bill and we put it in the computer and it told us how many kilowatt hours you used in each of the 12 months. And then we added those up and we got your annual power usage. Does that make sense? So we got the information for your power plant directly off of your power bill for your home.
Okay.
Right? So now we know exactly how much electricity this house has used in a 1-year period. Does that make sense? The next part of the calculation is super simple. I just need to determine what size power plant we need to build on your roof to produce that much electricity in a 1-year period. Does that make sense? So how much electricity are you using? What size power plant do we need?
Okay.
Checked in on that?
Yep.
The last part of the equation is, do you have enough roof space to facilitate the correct size power plant? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so this is where a lot of people get taken advantage of in solar. One, they don't understand what a kilowatt hour is.
Okay.
They don't know how much electricity they used, right? Just like you didn't know how much a barrel of oil was in Kuwait.
Right.
It's the same reason you don't know what a kilowatt hour is, because it doesn't really matter. You get a bill and you just have to pay the bill. Doesn't matter how much the price of oil is. You need gas, you just pay for the gas. So people get taken advantage of because they don't understand these basic things. But the reason that I explain these to you is so that you can understand how I'm calculating your power plant so that you can trust what I'm going to say. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. So we did all that. We got your annual and we determined the size of the power plant, and then you actually do have enough roof space. That's one of the places where people get taken advantage of, is somebody will lie to them if they don't have enough roof space, and they'll undersize the system and overprice it, and then it's just kind of a crappy thing to happen to people.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about that?
No.
Okay, so that's the basics of everything on the educational piece. The last thing that we do is we just kind of go through a questions and answers phase. So the reason that I do the questions and answers phase at this point is because what I want her to do is, or my customer, is I want them to have a conceptual understanding of solar so that they can ask me educated questions. The most critical point here is trust. If I've created, do I sound trustworthy? Have I said anything that's not true? Is it all, could a 13-year-old have understood what I said? Did I check in with her at each step? Do you think that she feels comfortable with the way that I'm explaining it? So she has rep legitimacy, company legitimacy, and now I'm starting to create offer legitimacy. What I've done here in the Vivint sales cycle, when it said closing, the definition of closing would be the art of relieving pressure. If I can relieve pressure, I can get you out of croc brain and open your mind and have you think cognitively so that you can make a good decision. Once I've done that and I've created rep legitimacy, offer legitimacy, company legitimacy, and offer legitimacy, she has low pressure. And now I'm going to ask her, what else can I teach you, or what information do you need? Because I want her to be able to feel comfortable being forthcoming with what she needs to ask me or tell me. I don't want her to feel stupid. I don't want her to feel like it's a dumb question. I don't want her to feel like I'm going to lie to her. I don't want her to feel any of those things. I just want to be in a trustworthy situation. And now, what can I teach you? So I've tried to set that up just through the sales cycle to create this atmosphere now where I can start to reveal most of the time, 99% of the times, what I'm dealing with here are going to be buying questions. It's rare that I'll come into an objection. Objection here would be something that I didn't, if I'd sat with a one-legger, which I won't do. I got to talk to somebody else about this. I'm looking at 3 deals, but I just don't want to tell you. I think I might have, you're going to run my credit, I might have bad credit, I didn't know that. Right? There's things they could be holding back that are possible that I'll unwind through some of this, and I'm going to try and reveal objections if I see them. But at this point, I should just be in a phase where I'm just getting buying questions, right? So Teresa, these are some of the most common things that people ask. I've answered a lot of this for you, and I know you asked me about roofing and what happens if I sell, and I can go into that in a little bit more detail. Is there anything on here or anything not on here that you would like me to cover in greater detail for you?
there are no upfront costs. How does that happen?
Good question.
And I think you kind of went over how you guys make money. And then what happens if I sell?
Okay, what else?
You can touch on that just a little bit if you want, because I mean, I remember you going over it, but
Which one? How do we,
sell.
if you sell your house, 100%. So right now, and why do I do this? I'm not trying to interrupt her flow of questions because she may forget one when I'm explaining the other one. Ask questions, write down stuff. Okay, so far we have roof. What happens if I sell my home? Why is there no money up front? How do we make money? What else? Anything else that you can think? And there's no stupid questions here.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm looking at these questions, and it says what happens if I sell my property. So you said you're going to go over that.
Sure.
So it says what are the terms and conditions of the PPA? What you're just buying? I'm just buying power. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah. I mean.
It's pretty simple, huh?
Yeah, well, it's just that I'm by myself, so I kind of want to make sure that I understand everything.
No, absolutely, and that's my job. So the reason that I introduced myself in the beginning in such detail was because you can trust me, and I do understand that we can have concerns with people taking advantage of us, whether we're alone or not. And so I understand those things, and so that's why I said there's no stupid questions. I want to make sure that you understand everything.
Okay, thank you.
So that's another tieback. Why me? And why do I say that? Because it's true. Okay, so first thing was roof. So we're going to have a 25-year roof penetration warranty on the house. And so anything that we touch, any penetration point, anything that we're going to do on there, we're going to have a 25-year warranty on there. So you've been in the house for 3 years. Dumb question, but play along with me. Is there a roof warranty on it now?
I don't think so.
No, there's not, yeah. And it's because we don't think through these things. The cool thing is with solar, we're actually going to add a 25-year warranty on there. So we're going to go back to why Sun Solar Solutions and why picking the right contractor. Most contractors don't have a 25-year warranty. A lot of them have a 5-year or a 10-year or a 15-year. Most of them have a 10. We have a 25-year warranty because we do really good roof work. So we're going to measure twice and cut once.
Okay.
The penetration points, we do triple seals on all of those things. Our construction crews are trained on how to do the roofs. So that's why we're placing a 25-year roof penetration warranty on there. Just the length of the warranty generally tells homeowners how trustworthy we are. And that's also why I told you if you need to pick up the phone in 15 years, we're going to be here.
Yeah.
Because we don't expect any roof problems, but if there ever are, we're going to take care of them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions on that one? Yeah. Any questions there?
No.
Okay. What if I sell my house? So this is always a good one, and we'll go into a little bit more depth. So you remember, is this your first house that you purchased, or have you owned a few?
No, this is my first house.
Okay, so you remember when you did the transaction and you were the buyer and then there was a seller, and then in between that was the escrow account where all of the transactions, you put money and that money was safe. Anything to do in a real estate transaction like solar or a second mortgage or any of those things go into that escrow account. And so selling a house with solar on it's a super simple transaction. So the solar will be listed inside that escrow account, and that has to be satisfied at sale. So solar is currently listed on the MLS. It'll say how many panels you have, what size system it is, all those things that'll be on there. The buyers that are coming through are going to know that it has solar. They'll know that it's a power purchase agreement, but with the power purchase agreement, your buyer is going to have two options. Okay. One, they can enter into the agreement just as you did with us as their power company, or they can purchase the system outright at the time of sale. So it's a very easy transaction. You won't have to do any of that. Oh. Their real estate agent and your real estate agent are going to help work through that with the bank and us. It's one page that they'll have to fill out whether they want to buy it or enter into the agreement. But all of that will be handled in escrow. And so that'll all be handled by the agents and the buyer at that time. And it's a really easy transaction. And you remember when I told you that Zillow shows that houses sell 2 times faster than houses without? So what they did was just kind of a nationwide study. And I think we can both agree they don't know exactly how much your house is worth now, but they do know how much houses are worth that sold, what the price was, and what fixtures were or were not attached. And they just extrapolated that data, and they showed that houses nationwide with solar sell 2.5 times faster than houses without solar. Wow. And I think we can both agree in this market, if you go to sell, it's better to have an advantage.
Yes, for sure.
Because it has a power plant on it. So pretty simple. Any questions about what happens if you sell?
No.
Super simple. And then no upfront cost. So this is right? Am I getting scammed here?
Well, it's kind of too good to be true.
It does sound like that a lot of the times if it's not explained. And it really comes back to your other question here is how do we make money? So we don't make money by selling power plants. We make money by selling electricity. So a couple goofy questions I'll ask you. But remember we talked about Hoover Dam?
Yeah.
And NV Energy not owning Hoover Dam. And we talked about the solar farms, and NV Energy doesn't own the solar farms. Those people build those power plants for a great cost, but they make money over time by selling NV Energy electricity, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with us. We cover all of the equipment costs and the upfront costs, and they're pretty heavy. We average about $30,000 for each solar system, and that includes the engineering, the procurement of the materials and the construction, and then the maintenance over time. We take on that responsibility because we make that money back plus profit over time by selling you electricity. So we're taking you as a customer from NV Energy, just like Netflix took away people from Blockbuster. So our money is generated not by selling you the power plant, it's generated by selling you electricity over a long period of time.
Okay.
The symbiotic relationship is that we get to make money by being your power company, and you get to save money by having us as your power company. And so that's the reason that we're footing all of the upfront costs, is because we don't make money with the material, we make money by selling the power.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make
Does it
sense.
sound too good to be true now?
No, it sounds better.
It sounds better?
Well, we compared it to NV Energy, so that made, I guess it just clicked.
Yeah, and that's what I find most times is that people just don't trust the process because they don't understand how electricity is bought and sold. And so when we go back to how I explain the power plants and things like that, that's why I did that, because that's how electricity is bought and sold. It's made somewhere and sold somewhere and then sold again somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
I guess I never thought about it that way.
Nobody ever does.
Yeah.
So any questions about any additional questions to why there's no upfront cost or how we make money?
No.
Cool. So terms and conditions, we're going to get into those next. We have to make sure that you qualify first. So you see, we talked earlier when you met Dave at the door. He said that you had a 650 credit score or better.
I have better.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So the first thing, before we get into terms and conditions, we need to do a soft credit check on you to make sure that you qualify. It's banking, obviously. I have requirements that I have to do with that. Once we get into that, we'll get into the basics of the terms and conditions, but it's going to be exactly as I've described here, and everything that I've said is going to be on the contract, including the inflation rate, when you can sell your, what happens if you sell your home, all of those things will be listed on there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So let me get this started real quick. Just pull that up. And so Teresa Coons, that's your legal name? Okay, and then what's the last four of your social security number? That's it. So that's it. And now I'm going to run credit and I'm going to go into contract. And then I'm going to present contract. I'm not answering construction questions during contract. I'm not educating during contract. Now, if it doesn't always go like that. For me, a lot of times that's just right there. What you just saw is probably 8 out of 10 times how it goes. And they're like, oh, where's my last four? If they don't, it's because they're hiding something. Like, what are the key things people hide? I want to get more quotes, right? And so what I train on is the fact. The fact is that I need to get more quotes. You know, you're going to have all these sales guru. You can overcome that. And you can. But I need to get more quotes can not only be an objection, it can be a condition. Right? And so I relate this to buying a house. Troy, did you just buy a house? How many houses did you look at? What if I tried to sell you the first house you looked at? Absolutely not. Some people are dead. I'm in roofing. Some people are dead set on getting 3 quotes, and what you'll see people do here, is they'll delegitimize their offer by attacking the wrong objection. What if I gave it to you cheaper? I don't want cheaper. I want to get more quotes. And all this stuff. And what you're doing is you're delegitimizing your offer. I'm not going to go into closing training and sales objections, overcoming those things right now. That's not what this training's about. But this portion of the close is set to reveal any hidden agenda. Because now, have I showed her any numbers? She know anything about my offer? She doesn't know anything, right? Why do I do this? Well, one, and I say this over and over and over, we've all been in transactions. There's no transaction you're going to be in other than solar in the United States of America for lending, and they're going to tell you what your APR is before you run your credit. Josh, you do banking? What APR can I get right now?
We have to wait and see.
What do you have to do?
Provide information.
You got to run my credit. What if you go buy a car? You got to run my credit. Troy, did you know what your APR was before you got it, or did you have to run your credit? They can give you a pretty good guess. They can give you a swing. Give you a swing. I mean, right now, we got stuff as low as 599, but it goes all the way up to 899. Depends on your credit. That's how it works. I'm utilizing that here. One, I do need to know if you have good credit, because if you don't, I'm not lying. This is the truth. I need to know if you have good credit to make sure you qualify for the offer. It's the truth. The other portion of this is to reveal any hidden objection, because now we're going to run credit. Oh, wait a minute. I wasn't doing that today. I just wanted some information. Oh, no, perfect. Right? And then I'm going to go into that. Again, this training isn't that training. We can do a training on that. But what I'm saying is this portion of the presentation is built, one, to just initiate close. That's how I initiate close. Perfect. Right? I think of this like when I go into a bank and I want to get a loan, and I'm like, hey, I want to buy a car, America First Credit Union, and I go in and I sit down and I go, I want to buy a car. And they're like, okay, what kind of car is it? Is it new? Is it used? Perfect. Okay, where are you getting it from? Okay. Do you have the sticker on? Okay. What's your credit score? We're going to run your credit. That's just how it goes. That's how I approach this transaction. So the close is a natural assumption that I've checked in with her at every point and asked her, does that make sense? Yes, conceptually it makes sense. I've answered all of her buying. These are buying questions. There's not one single, these are like a million miles away. When I start getting these, I'm like, we're done. We're closed. This is it. I'm like, we're closed. Because she's asking me buying questions. She wants the product. She's saying, help me understand this part so that I can transact with you. And I'm like, and I start to get excited too, because I'm like, this is great. She gets it. We're in the pipe. Like, I get to help another homeowner. So just to kind of flow through a little bit more. One, we have the rep legitimacy. Your rep legitimacy, you always want you. If you don't own a home, don't say you own a home. Say something like, I'd like to own a home. I understand how difficult it is to buy a home. I'm trying to save for a home right now. So I understand how long it took you to get this home and what it means to you. And I want you to know that I'm going to take care of it like if it was my own, because I understand. That's what you're trying to convey in rep legitimacy, is that you understand where you're sitting, who you're sitting with, and that they're an actual human being, and what you're sitting in matters very much to them. That's what you're trying to convey. And then you introduce your company. And you give credibility to your company, that we've been in business for a long time, that we've done a lot of solar systems, that we have an A+ in the Better Business Bureau, that we've never had a complaint on our contractor's license. Because if they don't know your company and they've never heard it, it's hard to trust. But if I'm creating these things in legitimacy, and also I expect you to believe me, because I'll never lie to you. And so when they don't believe me, I just honestly feel kind of sorry for them. Because there's some people, no matter who they're transacting with, they refuse to even believe a trustworthy person. I was talking with Curtis the other day, and he was trying to sell solar to one of his good friends. And his good friend needed paper on his roof. And 2 other solar companies and went in and looked in the attic and determined that he didn't need paper on his roof. And Curtis tried to explain that to the customer, and it was his friend. And he actually told him on the phone, I don't know what else that I can tell you. You're going to have roof issue. And he sent them pictures. And he said, don't you understand? They're looking in your attic and telling you that your roof is fine. And I'm telling you that we've been on your roof and you have bad paper. And you're going to have roof leaks. And the customer refused to believe him. And he said, I actually felt very sorry for him. He's my friend. And so when people don't believe me, that's how I feel. I feel like, wow, you're sitting with the actual honest guy, the one that's going to tell you the hard news. Not the guy you're bringing in your brakes and I call you an hour later and tell you need a new engine. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that calls you and say, hey, I just want to let you know we did a diagnostic and you have like 3 motor mounts that are loose. You can come in and check them out. We don't have to fix it, but I just want you to know, because I know your family, you said your family's going to be in this car. I actually had that happen to me, an old Prez car that I bought. It was the sedan. And the guy called me and he said, and I'm like, really? And he sent me pictures and he's like, these are the motor, they need to be replaced. And they did. And I was like, thank you. And it was hard news because it was like an extra $1,500. But we're the solar company that's going to tell you the real stuff. And these other guys are just out there lying and doing this wonky ass shit. So when I'm saying stuff about myself or the company or the law, I expect you to believe me because I'm telling you the truth. And if you don't believe me, I feel sorry for you. Right? And so that's creating rep legitimacy, company legitimacy, and then going in through the simple education. Why don't most people transact? Because they don't trust the offer. They don't trust the entire offer of solar. The whole thing. Any of it, from anybody. How do you make money? How simple is that to explain if you just explain it? We make money by selling electricity, just like the other guys do. Well, what if I just came and told, hey, David, a free car for you? It's free. All you got to do is pay for the gas. Just pay for the gas. It sounds like a scam. Hey, I'm going to put a free $30,000 solar plant on your roof. That's what they're hearing. Like, what? It's free. Yeah, you just pay for the cheaper electricity. And their brain is not associating because you haven't connected the dots. And that's your job. Connect the dots. It's super simple. We build a power plant that makes electricity and cover all the upfront costs and then sell you electricity, just like I explained on here. And so every close will be a little bit different. The fundamentals will be the same. My tonality with Teresa was in the way that I was talking in my metaverbals were based on that I was talking to a single female. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be intrusive. I want to make sure that she's checked in. I want to have a little bit of levity, right? Even my levity, though, is professional. But when I'm going to ask dumb questions, I ask permissionary questions. If I'm going to ask a leading question, I ask permission to lead. Like, let me just ask you a dumb question. And I do that. And I know how they're going to feel. They're going to feel internally their ego's going to step in at some point and go, I should know this, I'm stupid. And they'll get, the reason I say things like, do you know how much a barrel of oil is in Kuwait? Because I want them to know, hey, it's okay. Nobody knows. That's why I'm here, to teach you. That's why you haven't ever done it. And so I want to calm that down. So my tonality in those things will vary depending on who I'm talking to. When I was at Josh's house, we were doing his solar, it was completely different. It was me and Josh and Huddy and Curtis all sitting around a table. We're all, beefed up. We're talking, like everything's going on. It's a completely different vibe. But the presentation for me will always be the same. The core fundamentals of what I'm teaching will always be the same. And so this is where your personality comes in, right? You want to be you want to be your most authentic you, but you have to have the core fundamentals of the sales cycle down in your head so that you can lead the person through the forest into the path and where they cognitively understand. Does this make sense?
Yep.
Teresa, what were your takeaways?
My takeaways were, it was super simple. I mean, the way you explained everything made it super simple for me to feel comfortable in entering the agreement.
Cool. Any other takeaways, gang? Yep.
I like that you kept asking her simple questions throughout to keep her engaged, and when people feel like they can answer the question, they're more excited to answer it and kind of stay in that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good point. Anybody else? David?
I like the tiebacks. Instead of just addressing one certain thing when you get to it, you're kind of leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
So the tiebacks are dope. I picked that up for the little time I was here on Monday and utilized it when I closed yesterday. Because you revert back to as I mentioned before, to show her hey, we already covered it. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
So one of the things is, this is another amazing reason to follow the same trajectory on each sale, because the more of them that I do, I realize the more information that I can put in earlier on to tie back to. Because I'm always doing the same thing. And there's not a billion customers out there. There's just not. They all essentially have the same objections, thoughts, fears, concern. There's not this infinite amount of things people can think about solar. So you're going to run into enough of them and start to think like, okay, I can introduce that here and tie back to it because you're always doing the same thing. And you can remember cognitively like, if I would have said that there, it would have helped me here. So next time I'm going to say it there, and then you do it and you're like, that really helped. And then you start to catch up, and then your presentation develops because you have a rudder on your boat and you know where you're going, right? So great point, David. Joey?
There was a couple different things that you did at the end to tie into the next thing. So you, at the end of the analogy with do you know how much a gallon gas is? You know, at the pump? You know how much a barrel of oil is in Kuwait? And then after you went through the power plants, do you understand how electricity is bought and sold? And and then you have like your little pauses where you have the customer repeat back to you what you explained simply, just to make sure it clicked. So it's like those pauses to make sure they respond and hear what you're saying. It helps them like track along.
Yeah.
And you can make sure, okay, box is checked. They got that.
Yeah, no, it's good points. And so all of these things are just things that, right? And so one that I'll say to that is always love the one you're with, right? Like it's a saying in sales, and I heard this first with like, don't have your phone out or have to this and that, like pay attention to the person. But if you actually genuinely care about the transaction with the person and the person, that's another reason that people trust me, is because I do represent good solar. I do care that you get a good deal. I do care that your home is taken care of. I do care. I don't really care what you do on the weekends. I don't. I don't care what your hobbies are. I don't. It's cool. I mean, we can talk about them a little bit. But I care more about you and your home and making sure that you get a good deal. So when I'm doing those check-ins, part of that is just being good in sales. But the reason that it's good in sales is because I'm making sure that my customer understands. Because the biggest way that I can protect my customer is to make sure that they understand. And the easiest way to do that is get them checked into each part and just ask them back what I said. Even when I say, do you remember rollover minutes? I always say it. Tell me what is a rollover minute. Because they're repeating what I said. And analogies are used really strong. When you use an analogy, it helps people click into reality. They're like, oh, right? Because they think solar is this foreign, unknown, weird concept. I've never dealt with that part of the economy. Like, yeah, you deal with buying and purchasing commodities on a daily basis, and you deal with inflation on a daily basis. On a daily basis, you're buying stuff that somebody else made and then sold it to somebody for cheaper, and then they're selling it to you for a markup. That's the economy. That's how everything works, except Facebook Marketplace. People buy something expensive and they sell it for cheap. But you go to any store, they're buying something that was made cheaper, sold for wholesale, and marked up and sold to you. So when you're using these analogies, you're just snapping people into the reality of what we're talking about here. It's like, hey, you're used to this. This isn't a foreign concept. I'm not trying to sell you a spaceship here. This is electricity, right? So great point. Any other takeaways? Mike?
I've been doing this 6-7 years, and I'm surprised no one else in here has mentioned the fact, but I think it's mind-blowing that you're asking for the last four before you show them the price.
Sure.
I believe you,
Yeah.
and I'm going to try. I'm terrified to try it.
I was terrified my first time too.
Jeez,
Scary.
That's wild to me.
But you know who it's normal to? Your customer.
Yeah.
That's how they're used to transacting. Every transaction everybody's ever done in their life with a loan has required them to run their social security number before they were shown the facts of the deal. They've never, ever, ever been in a transaction outside of solar that did that. So when you do it, it only seems abnormal to solar people. But for the rest of the world, so when you do it to them, this is the thing about it, is just think before you do it. This is how they're used to doing business, because that's how business is done. So then I'll ask you the question, can you actually complete the transaction without running their credit? No. You have to run their credit. But what we think is we need to show them this amazing deal before. That would be like, I've never bought a car, and they're like, hey, Lee, I'm going to give you a 4.49. Guaranteed? Yep. Well, what if I got a 648? Nope. What if I got a 670? Well, that 499 is going to be 589. Well, what if I got a 700? Well, then it's going to be 5. And well, what if I got an 800? Well, then we got a special deal. I just traded in my Fortitude truck and I got a special deal. I have a 780 credit score and GM Financial gave me a 4.5 interest rate right now on a special because I had a credit score above 760. And I had to run my credit to get the deal. So it's like, this is what I want you to think through, is like, this is the natural course of it, but it also allows you to keep your powder dry. And now when they say, I'm gonna get some other offers, perfect. When are they coming, right? I'll go through some stuff, right, to try and cross them through, like what if, I'm not going to go into this whole training right now, but I have some tactics to get into to try and get them to transact today. But if they just won't, they haven't seen my offer. And I'm going to try and keep my powder dry. Listen, I want to give you the best deal. I do. But I got an ask from you.
Okay.
Right? Have we built some good rapport here?
Yeah.
You feel like we have a pretty good business relationship?
Yes.
So can I have an ask?
Sure.
I want to be the last guy in the room.
Okay.
Will you give me that?
Yeah.
Will you promise me? I want to promise on this. That's how I talk to people. Especially like if it's a dude, I'm going to talk to him differently. Like, listen, brother.
Give me your word.
Give me your word. Let's shake on it.
Yeah.
So Teresa, I want to be the last person in the room.
Okay.
I want to come in here and I firmly believe that I can beat them. But I want to be the last guy in the room. And also, I'm going to help you double check everything that they said.
Oh.
So I want you to remember everything that we talked about here, and I'll come in and help you analyze their offers. And if I can't beat them, I promise you, my promise to you is that I'll tell you if there's a deal that's better than mine.
Okay.
Does that make sense? When are your appointments? She hasn't seen my offer. And now where am I at?
Still on the top.
I'm still doing good. I'll ask people. I'll tell you to pull out your phone and put an appointment in. I'll go in your house and sign you up. If you don't have an Envy Energy account, I'll walk in your house with you and set up your password with you and set one up and download your power bill. I've sat at people's kitchen tables while they looked around for a power bill for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing emails. I'm like, I'm locked in. Get that power bill. I'm going to do what I need to do as a professional right? So this is the way that I transact with people. And it doesn't feel weird or pushy because it's not. I'm not a grimy ass dude. I want to beat them. And I don't want to show you my stuff until they show us their stuff. And then I want to come in and I think I can beat them. Let's do it. Like, let's make it a game. So that's it. We'll close. Any last thoughts on any of this?
No.
All right, gang. So utilize this as much as possible. I appreciate everybody's work. Remember, we got Thanksgiving coming up. Let's go hard in the paint. For our people that are up and coming and closing, I'll put this up on YouTube so you can download it, look at it, review it. Some of the things that I did, just some quick, and we'll get out, is, there was this guy, Doug Cartwright at Vivint, and he had an in-home close at Vivint, and I probably watched that thing 150 times. I would put it in my car and just listen to it. And it was so hard to replicate because I didn't know, and it was simple, but it was hard, but I just listened and listened and listened and listened and listened and listened, right? And there's a few other ones. But focus on your training. If you think that this is an easy job, you probably already know it's not. The fastest way to make this job easier is to inform yourself of what you need to know so that you can be a professional, because in this market, in today's market in solar, people want to transact with professionals. They do, because they've heard all the bad stuff, they've heard all the rip-offs, they've heard all the things, they don't trust in the moon, all this stuff. And if you're not a professional when you're speaking to them, they're not going to transact with you because we're too far into market intrusion. We're not in the first, they've heard all the stuff. They've made a decision. And to go past those decisions and create legitimacy of offer and pierce past that veil, you have to be professional. And to be professional, you have to have knowledge. You have to know what you're talking about. So watch videos, listen to podcasts, listen to books, come into the trainings, write down your objections, do all the things to get better. Don't just go out and knock doors and go home and watch Netflix. Be better every day. That's what Relentless represents, okay? All right, let's take it out, gang. Thank you.